if you push it from the top, it'll just.
You probably want to see that stitch line.
Right.
Well, not line, but stitch blur. You should align it so that he's not standing in front.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna.
Theoretically, you're supposed to be
I'm
able
gonna
to
have
put
one
the top
facing
button.
him, so
There we go.
Yeah,
it'll
exactly.
stitch like
And then
someone
everyone
else.
else. Right.
Oh yeah, it's just the stitching is really cool in post. Like it has the gear manager, just
Yeah.
like magic.
It's just two fisheye
But you're streaming, so it's
lenses
stitching.
on
And
either
it
side.
manages to capture it?
It captures more than 90 degrees to this side and then stitches it together.
that
So it
makes
just
sense.
captures on this side. There's one here and one here.
It's fun stuff. I use it to record like classrooms, so they can use VR to
Oh,
go back in. Yeah,
that's nice. I need that.
it's
That looks pretty good.
fun.
All right, are we in business?
Yep.
So I just tweeted it, so if you'd like to link to the link.
I'm gonna tweet it with more things for the Microsoft things, cause
Okay, let me just put in a slide for you that might work.
That's a good idea.
This is for the intro.
I don't care about the official stuff, we have plenty of that, I wanna see your stuff.
Okay, my stuff, the first slide is nothing. It's just,
Whatever, if you have like a biopic or your project, whatever.
okay, let me just put this in.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that is it.
Oh, wow, the lighting is terrible.
All right, can we start?
As soon as it turns on.
All right, I'm gonna do the intro and then. You set?
Make sure that you use the microphone.
Yep. Hi, good evening. Welcome to the New York City HoloLens Developers Meetup. My name is Paul Blair. I organized the meetup here. We were started in May of 2015, so we're one of the older HoloLens meetups, maybe the oldest. We're up to 767 members in the group now. I wanted to thank Microsoft for hosting us here at the Reactor. They've been very generous in letting us use this space. The pizza tonight is partly from your donations and partly from Serious Code, which is my company. I wanted to just let you know of some upcoming events. So in August, we are going to have Abid Nassim of GeneralSoft. He has a presentation he is going to give on the 3D data center, which has to do with visualizing in 3D an application landscape of multiple applications across possible different data centers in the cloud and using the HoloLens to visualize that. Then in September, we're going to have Lucas Risotto, who won the Reality Mixer of the Year award this year, and I think that was for his interactive periodic table of the elements. And then in October, we're planning on having Sean Ong come from Seattle if we can find the funds to bring him. He has a talk we're thinking he's going to give on turning holograms into money, so that ought to be very interesting to people. So that's what's upcoming. One of the reasons that I organized the group was that I wanted to create a place where developers could meet people with projects. So if you were looking for work, doing HoloLens work, or if you had a project and you needed somebody to help you out, this would be the place that you'd go. And so at the beginning of the presentation, before I introduce Abhishek, I just wanted to know if there's anybody here who has any community announcements or is available for work or has a project they need some help with. Okay, not tonight. All right, so on to our speaker. So Singh, roll and customize through your phone. A 20-foot dragon you ride through a virtual world. A voice-activated robot named Peeqo that responds entirely in GIFs. And his recreation of the Super Mario game for mixed reality, which he's going to talk about tonight. He is currently open to work on interesting projects. So he's going to talk to us about beyond the room, large-scale experiences with HoloLens.
Hi everyone, so I'm Abhishek, and I thought that I'll just kick things off. I know Paul has already done this, but let me kick things off by just telling you guys a bit about myself. So I graduated last year from this amazing program at NYU, which is called ITP, the Interactive Telecommunications Program, and it's there where I got to build a lot of crazy things. So I built this shoe that you could basically control and customize using your phone, and it would give you Twitter and Facebook notifications via your feed. I built this interactive installation that went up in Times Square on the 40-foot billboards on either side of the Lion King theater, where people could message in their outrages and then see what was happening from there. I also built this virtual reality dragon. So this is this 20-foot large dragon that people could actually sit on and ride, plug into a VR headset, and then be able to control the VR dragon by manipulating this physical dragon. And I also built this little desktop assistant, this robotic voice-activated desktop assistant, which I named Peeqo, except he would respond entirely through GIFs. And yet, I find myself here speaking to you guys about AR. So how exactly did that happen? Well, that's what I'm going to tell you now. So everybody's familiar with this, right? I mean, it's this iconic game that all of us, even though this game was probably created before most of us here were born, still kind of recognize and probably grew up playing. Well, I took this game and I rebuilt it in AR for the HoloLens. As a first-person life-size experience in which you actually step into the shoes of Mario to complete the level. So today's talk will be about how I did that, right? And along the way, I'll also kind of tell you about my thought processes, a few challenges that I faced along the way, and some kind of design consideration and technical hacks that I had to use. So where did this all begin? It began, obviously, with the HoloLens. And the HoloLens is this kind of like magical, amazing device, which I could never get my hands on, except that I happened to be at a university that had it. And that's the great thing about universities, right, is that you get access to equipment that you'd otherwise never be afforded to pay for. Although comparatively, you're affording to pay for university, so I'm not sure. Spark was created. The next step was to begin with research. And what research involved was looking at this video again and again on an infinite loop till every game mechanic and every interaction was kind of ingrained in my mind. It also involved trying to figure out how to play a Super Mario, so that I just kind of got a sense of what it was. It had obviously been quite a few years since I'd done that. Once the research was done, the next step was actually like designing the assets. And now I kind of thought that, okay, Super Mario has been there for 30 years. The internet has been there for a long time as well. People have definitely created these 3D assets and put them out there for free that I would simply kind of download and integrate into my game, right? And there are a bunch of 3D assets, they're kind of repeating, but you would obviously be able to, I would obviously find these with no difficulty. Finding the sounds to include was not difficult, but then I came across this, and they were asking me to pay $5, right? I know it says $3.75, but at that time there was no sale. And for some reason, at least at that point of time, it made more sense to me that instead of spending $5, I should instead spend 1 week building all the assets out myself. So I picked Autodesk Fusion 360 as the modeling tool of my choice and started modeling. Except that's where the first thing came out, is that we are always used to seeing these assets like this, right, as a 2D thing. I had to kind of reimagine them to be in 3D. I don't even know. I mean, we have never seen what the underside of that brick looks like. So what does the underside of that brick look like? So that's where I could kind of take some creative licenses. And I decided that's what the underside of the brick looks like. And then I went on to model the other assets. Over here you can see like the Goomba, which is now obviously like extruded into a 3D, but still kind of paying homage to like this 8-bit pixel kind of look that it had. Even though for an embarrassingly long amount of time, my sister and I used to call that bad mushroom. And then the Koopa Troopas, which we used to call bad turtle. So once all the assets were kind of created and modeled, I ported them into Unity, and Unity is a game engine that allows you to develop these experiences for the HoloLens. And inside Unity, just to give you like a quick kind of overview what it allows you. So the next step, once I had all these assets imported into Unity, was actually building out the entire level. So I took it piece by piece, went back to the 2D representations of them, and built the entire level out. And at the same time included all the game mechanics that had to be included. And at this time it was kind of, it was a challenging, but it was also very like insightful experience in the terms of, also person experience. So for that thing, what Mario tends to have a bunch of advantages over me. I mean, other than the fact that he's worth billions of dollars, it also is that he can defy the laws of physics, something which I'm still trying to figure out. So as one example, he can jump twice his height, right? And that's something that I cannot do. But I still wanted to maintain the aesthetic and the proportions of the original level while still allowing people to jump and be able to break the bricks or gain the power-ups. So to figure my way around that, what I did instead was I attached a collider to the camera, and I offset the colliders for all the assets on the bricks. So essentially by jumping just a small amount, well, a human capable amount, you were still able to interact and destroy the bricks. And you can see that in this slide here is that I was successfully able to jump and destroy the bricks. Obviously the hand was for added theatrical effect. It wasn't really doing anything, it was actually where my head was hitting. Another thing which Mario has down, which I haven't figured out yet, is how to spontaneously grow twice my size on consuming a mushroom. So the way around this, and in retrospect it seems kind of obvious, but at that point of time it wasn't, was that instead of me growing, let me shrink everything around me. So give people the illusion that the world, you are growing by shrinking the world around them. Another thing is that when Mario gains a power-up, when he gets a flower, he gets a mushroom, he changes costume, like he changes color, and you have these kind of bright blinking effects. Well, obviously, stripping down and changing in the middle of Central Park wasn't an option. So instead of that, I decided that when he gets a power-up, you kind of overlay it with this same aesthetic to kind of communicate to the user that yes, you got the power-up, and now you have an added ability. One more thing is that obviously in Mario, it's a 2D side scroller. Mario can jump on pipes. He can't go around them, and he can actually physically land on them. But that's not the case in the case of a hologram. How do I actually land on a pipe? Well, in that case, I kind of took the easy way out, and I decided that I'll just walk around the pipes. Well, these are kind of programmatic, what I like to call programmatic illusions. But in addition to that, there were also like a number of hacks, right? Hacks to kind of get it working, kind of mold the HoloLens to work in this large kind of environment where it's not probably meant to be used, and to kind of create the experience that I wanted to create. So one of the things I realized kind of early on was I am of a particular height. If I was to give a game to someone else who's of a different height, how would they be able to interact with it? What if they're shorter than me? Would they be able to jump and reach the bricks? What if they're taller than me? Would they just collide with the bricks without having to jump? So the first thing that I did was I integrated a height calibrator of sorts. So when you start off the game, what you'll do first is you'll enter your height, and that would calibrate the entire level to your particular height, so that the bricks are within reachable distance, but they still require you to jump. I also had to like scout around, which is not the easiest thing in New York, to find like a really large open expanse where I could play this entire game and not get hit or run over by a car. So eventually I picked the mall area in Central Park, and it also served the added benefit that it has this canopy of trees around it, and that canopy of trees kind of helps reduce the harshness of environmental light, which can create a lot of problems when rendering out holograms. The next thing after that was, and the mistake I made actually at this point of time is I left testing on the actual site that I was going to play on for really late into the game. So eventually, by the time I got the final capture, I was able to get everything working. I had to make 4 trips to Central Park at 6 in the morning on 4 different days. So I had some people there who were recognizing me as the Mario who would randomly show up in the middle of the morning jumping around Central Park, looking at something which only I apparently could see. So the step after that was I got a capture, but they had this kind of transparent kind of look to it, and it was for some technical reasons, and also because in HoloLens capture of the of the video, of the feed, was actually adding some level of transparency. And I wanted to find a way around that. I wanted to make the holograms seem like they're actually in the world and kind of add an opaqueness to them. So I wrote my own custom script that would allow me to increase the opacity of the holograms while they were being captured from the feed within the HoloLens itself. And what you see within the frame is what the user can kind of see. So everything outside the frame is what the HoloLens does capture, but the field of view of the user is slightly smaller. But then again, like a lot of people, a lot of naysayers, a lot of critics are like, oh, the field of view is so pathetic on the HoloLens or something like that. But the HoloLens is such an amazing device, right? And I'm excited not only by what it can do currently, but the possibilities and the potential it kind of holds. The other thing you have in Mario is you have these certain segments which are pits that you have to jump over, right? And I want to recreate these pits. The HoloLens essentially looks at full black as transparent. It renders it out completely as transparent. But as they say, like every action has a reaction and every fix has, I guess, its own break. So by fixing the video feed to capture at full opacity, the resulting effect was that it was now capturing my pits with these black boxes around them. So it was no longer this void that was now embedded into the floor. It was now this black box that was suddenly in the middle of it. To get around this, I had to start playing with shaders. And I took two approaches: transparent to the camera, but opaque to everything right behind it. So essentially, what it did was it had kind of a masking effect that I could not at the camera and see objects behind it. The technique that I used was something called the stencil buffer, which you can kind of think as a mask or a window that I overlaid on top of this void. And only when you look through that mask can you see anything within it. And this was the final effect that came out as a result of that, is that you have this pit right on the floor that you can now step up to and look down, and it kind of gives this impression, and you can also see like the mushroom kind of like fall into it. So when I first kind of did this test, I created this entire level, right? This entire level is now human size, and it was 110 meters long. So it was this huge, gigantic level, which is also why I needed that large space in Central Park. And I took this level, and I was like, oh, this is done. I'm just going to go in Central Park, place it there, and everything's going to work. Of course, everything did not work. The main problem that happened was because the level was so large, you can kind of think of it as it had only a single pivot point. So if you kind of look at my elbow or my arm right now, if my pivot point is at my elbow, everything that is further away from my elbow moves more as my arm moves. So what was happening was there's a tremendous amount of drift that was being created in this entire level. As I moved deeper into the level, the drift would increase and things would either move to the left, to the right, up or down, and I needed it obviously to be level to be able to interact with it, because if it's embedded into the earth, I can't really do much about it. So what I did was I took this level and I split it into 23 chunks, right? I split it into precisely 23 chunks, which each of them was about 6 meters wide. What you can see here are the different sections, these different sections. But it was not only about splitting it into 23 sections, but it was also about adding an anchor in the center of each of these sections. And each of those anchors would kind of work independently of each other and help to kind of anchor this entire level into space. So how that kind of worked is I would go in and I would first release the first cube, right? You see these kind of cubes. I would place this cube on the floor, which would tell me where the ground level is. And on another input, it would layer every cube, a subsequent cube, edge to edge after that. And each cube, the green cube and the orange cube mark the start and end of a particular section. So at the start of the game, it would create these sections right where those cubes were kind of placed on ground level. And that really helped get rid of any kind of drift. It's still a fairly large expanse, and the HoloLens still has some trouble kind of mapping it, but still the fact that it was able to do it was really impressive to me. And once all that was done, like the next step was basically stepping into Mario's shoes. And it was not only stepping into Mario's shoes, I was stepping into Mario's costume, right? It worked well because every action has an associated sound with it. So this has a little bit of sound. And as you can see, every sound has it. But another important thing is like not only what you could do in Mario, but what you couldn't do in Mario. And one thing I couldn't do in Mario is see what was inside the castle. So now that I was building it myself, I was like, okay, now I can figure out what actually happened inside the castle. So you actually, at the end of the game, not only get to bring the flag down, but you actually get to enter the castle and kind of look around into what actually existed there. And kind of doing this in Central Park, I knew it had some potential, right? It had some potential to be picked up by press. I knew it had some like viral characteristics to it, and I could kind of imagine the headline. The headline tomorrow would be like, "Crazy dude in Central Park seen jumping around in Mario costume." But instead, I kind of came across this: is that a man in super AR, and no one thought it was weird. And then I kind of figured, well, it is New York, and people have seen way weirder stuff than me jumping around in Central Park at 6 in the morning. But it's not kind of exactly true, because almost everybody did give me at least one curious glance to be like, I don't know what you're doing, and I don't know why you're here, but alright. After that, after I kind of filmed this video, and I filmed it from 2 points of view. One was obviously with this in-app view, which is the 3D first-person view, and the other one was a side view. A side view because I wanted to kind of map it to what we're used to seeing Mario as this 2D kind of side scroller, and then just overlaid it and published it to YouTube. And it kind of just took a life of its own since then. It's got over 1 million views on YouTube, over 10 million views now across social media channels. And I put out a tweet to HoloLens, which then eventually got several thousand views, and I kind of went to sleep at night and woke up in the morning and I was wondering why my inbox was flooding, because I didn't expect it to go kind of go as big as it kind of did. And at the end of it, it was covered by almost all major publications across, from gaming blogs to tech blogs and all that kind of thing. So to that extent, it kind of achieved what I set out to achieve. But I didn't set out to achieve it to gain press. What I set out to achieve was actually to start a conversation and to get people excited and to get people to start envisioning the possibilities of this device and of this technology, right? Because, and just kind of like taking it from there, I was so enamored by the HoloLens, and I wanted other people to also kind of like feel the same. And I didn't want people to kind of live within this box of what kind of exists and what is kind of possible with it, but kind of think outside of that. Because kind of just imagine a true consumer headset, of this size, I still believe, is 5 or 10 years away at this point of time. The HoloLens is a magical device, but ultimately it's a device that I use only to be able to communicate an idea or vision. A true headset is still probably 5 or 10 years away. But when that does happen, right, imagine putting that on, and imagine just being able to have artificially intelligent digital objects interacting with physical objects. Like the world basically becomes your playground, right? Every trip kind of becomes an experience. And isn't that the kind of world we kind of want to live in? Because if it is, then at least I think that we should start working on it from now. And that is it. So thank you. Yeah, now I'm just going to open it up for questions, I guess. So if anybody has any questions, please. Yeah.
So how much of this was solo and how much was working with NYU people or others?
It was completely solo. Yeah.
How did you get the side video?
Oh, the side video was actually my girlfriend shooting it from the side. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't really help with that.
Could you tell me a little more about the mental process that you mentioned something about you had to wear the costume and you find the gloves that prepare to play the game as Mario itself.
Yeah.
Did it really help a lot than if you didn't have anything, just with the device itself?
I mean, I think for many people, like the experience, like I wanted to create an experience not only for being within the device, but also like for me, the experience starts before you put the device on. And I knew a lot of people would be seeing this online, would be seeing this not only like the inside view, but they also want to see like before. They want to kind of see the story, and they kind of want to see these little theatricalities to it. So for me, and also I, at the same time, I kind of selfishly wanted to see the reactions of people in Central Park, of how they were reacting to this dude who was clearly in a Mario costume doing something. So that's why I kind of picked it. Yeah.
Did you use the spatial mesh?
I did not use the spatial mesh because A, it was an extremely large area to kind of cover, but I did use, in the sense, I have transparent floors transparent flows to this entire thing, and those flows are overlaid exactly over the. That's why I needed a level space. Yeah. Yep.
When will the game be available for us?
Launch it.
Unlikely. Like I would like to release it, but due to like copyright issues with Nintendo, I kind of want to not. Yeah. Yes.
Was this your first project, or is it
This was my first project with the HoloLens. Yes. Yeah, and it took about I guess like a month to build, but most of the time, like I guess it got extended because I spent. As I said, I should have started the testing process on the actual location much earlier because the weather wasn't too good at those points of time, and I couldn't always go to Central Park and kind of test it out daily.
Did you have to? Do you walk around and map the place first or not?
Not in this case. You don't have to map the place. Yeah. I do have a system in which you can kind of like do a dummy walk, so you can just like walk through the entire stage to see everything is fine before starting the stage off. But you don't really need to do it. The HoloLens will keep adjusting as it gets a better understanding of the space and the spatial anchors.
So what happens if someone's like way down at the end of the map, something's in the wake? It will just overlay.
It will just overlay it, yeah. The holograms don't care about it. I mean, I have to care about it.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody?
Yeah. So one question. You've shown this height selector for
yes, the height selector.
Yeah, and is it possible to do like automatic match? Your helmet is actually in your head.
So the reason I put a height selector not necessarily right above the head, yes, the HoloLens knows its position in space, right? I could do that. The reason I wanted to do a height selector is that I don't only have to care about what is above my head, but I also have to care about the enemies which are on the floor, which means that I want to be able to jump to be able to kill them, but I also want to be able to jump to destroy stuff that's above my head. So which is why if you like kind of saw the collider, it's offset from the ground and it's offset above my head, which basically means that I can jump and stomp a 2-foot Goomba by jumping only 4 or 5 inches. Yeah.
Other than compensating for drift, were there any other compromises you feel you had to make for getting this to work at a decent frame rate?
I guess a lot of the assets, because they were inspired by Mario and they have kind of the 8-bit thing, so I wasn't constrained from the polygon count as such in terms of that, the assets being too heavy to be included in it. My main, I guess, tussle was definitely with the spatial anchors to get them working and to get the video capture working the way I wanted it to work. Yeah. But then again, like spatial anchors don't always work perfectly. So sometimes there is some drift, and it's based on a number of environmental factors, because also the HoloLens, when it's kind of trying to map a space or get a sense of a space, it likes there to be a lot of difference in the space. So like there are objects in the space that can use to kind of create these meshes, it's much easier. But obviously this mall in Central Park is just one gigantic flat road with not much differentiation between it. So it's difficult for the HoloLens to kind of get a better sense of the space. Which is why I also kind of moved a little bit to the left, because there are benches lining up one in.
So I imagine the opacity that we're seeing on the video is nothing like the opacity that you're actually experiencing in the HoloLens.
That's correct.
How was that experience?
So the experience kind of varies, and the experience varies basically based on your environmental light, which I guess is also why HoloLens says use it for indoor use, because you can control the light indoors. So when I'm using it indoors, like if I was to set it maybe like here or something, I would get a fairly good amount of opacity. Like there would be like, I would be able to see through it, but it's fine. But when I use it outdoors and if I use it with like sunlight, then they would get dimmed way further. Yeah. But I guess at the end of it was the queen idea and the vision of what this could look like. I wish I could add to this. I guess I wished I could add the ability maybe to actually climb the stairs or like jump over the pipes. So at some point of time I was thinking that what if I actually create physical objects and lay them out in the entire stage and then just overlay the pipes and all directly on them, so I could actually climb up stairs but use the holograms to texture those not fake stairs, those physical stairs. So it would give that entire kind of another level of thing, but I think it felt like a little bit of too much work to do it in Central Park. Yeah. Yep. I mean, Nintendo owns the IP, so I don't think I'm in any position to make a deal.
Do you think you could try at least?
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure about that. I mean, Nintendo obviously, like Mario comes with a ton of legacy and it comes with all this kind of. And the reason I also picked Mario is because I knew it would be instantly relatable to like a lot of people, which was obviously proven correct. But I never did it with the intention that I want to profit off of it in any way. It was more like get people to think about using these devices, the HoloLens and mixed reality in a completely new way. And Mario was kind of the medium. Yeah.
So I guess with like several apps already supporting like a shared experience, will you be revisiting this project with like a shared experience in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I have a few ideas about that, and I've got also like a ton of suggestions about creating maybe like a different kind of two-player experience, because right now the two-player experience would basically be me dressing up as Luigi and playing it instead. Yeah, I mean, there could be like a completely different way of like rethinking a two-player experience for this. Yeah, because shared experiences are super cool. So yeah, yep.
What do you want to do next?
What do I want to do next? I don't know. I'm figuring it out. Yeah, I have a few ideas in mind. I just have to see which one of the list to pick and choose. Yeah.
You ever thought about making like a version of like Mario Kart? Which
I have thought about that a lot.
It's a multiplayer.
I know. I have thought about that a lot.
It adds fitness because now you have to run to the boxes to get the item.
Just
I thought of it from the point of view of actually driving a car.
You need a good, yes.
Actually driving a car around a racetrack and like throwing virtual objects at people. But I don't know. I think that would be
like
kind of walking the fence of safety hazard. I don't know. Yeah, if someone gives me a go-kart and a track, maybe I could figure it out. Yeah. Okay, that sounds like it's it.
Come here, everybody.
I think we still have food. We definitely still have drinks, so please help yourself.
Thanks so much. I need to get a picture of you first before I sign. I don't know. Promotional
Yeah.
things. And the link. Actually, it'd be cool if I got you wearing it. Yeah, where's your bag? I was gonna go grab it for you. The one in your bag.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I do have one in the car.
Yeah, I see. I can use it. And every time someone logs in, when it was logging, it was like 25. Now it's
Are you doing a demo?
really cool. Though. I can say not doing this for stuff.
Fantastic demo, and loved it.
Everyone, please post your pictures. Post it to the meetup.
Oh yeah.
But did you already follow me? And I followed you. I followed you.
Oh, I didn't know. I still didn't know. But in most cases, I kind of I guess during the holidays. But that would
You guys have to really stand in line like you're last race. It's like you're racing really, but it's like who's catching up to me. The one thing that I learned that is how to work
I think we need to see it. Yeah, I have like the thing is when it's a straight line, then all of my areas was there and movies are straight. But if I want them to cross sections, then I need to show but yeah, I every time there was some video, there was sometimes we just have to be sad, there was something that the was but like but again, if I try that tomorrow, it's not necessary that I'll be able to that was after before I didn't really just look on the other because like most places the Italian would sing the sitting down, I can't jump on anything. Like, I don't know it would be like but after I feel for
so